All right, so let's pass the baton over then. Pat, what's going on with you?
Okay, cool. I played Cyber Shadow this week. It's not made by
Hmm.
WayForward, but it is published by WayForward.
Yes.
And um do you guys like Ninja Gaiden?
Mm-hmm.
I love Ninja Gaiden. I never beat one.
You should probably play Cyber Shadow.
I have
Mm-hmm.
Cyber Shadow. I tried it. I started it, and I'm gonna keep going at it. It's hard.
It's real good.
Yeah.
What I said WayForward. I meant Yacht Club.
Yacht Club.
Oops.
Yacht
Yeah.
Club.
Yeah.
I
Um,
I am still like routinely making that mistake. Um
Also Hagane. It's if you like Hagane, I would pull that in too.
Mm.
SNES game, side sword. Yeah, similar deal. Anyway, it's fucking
uh,
good.
It's a really, really like straightforward, high quality retro throwback like Ninja Gaiden tribute game that has like a lot of unlockable moves, like almost Mega
A lot
Man
of
ish.
a lot of story too. It seems like.
Yeah. But all I can like all I need to tell anyone is that I was playing the first level and I think it was actually a robot bird like flew at me as I did a jump and it hit me, and your knockback animation is a uncontrollable arc jump backwards and knock me directly into a pit.
Yeah.
And
You have
I'm
the same
fucked.
fucking eagles in this game that they did in
Mm-hmm.
Ninja Gaiden. They
And
do with the same pattern that they go back and forth. The
that's
boomerang
that.
pattern.
It's like you will slash it as you jump or die, and that is it.
You recognize that,
Um,
like, fuck that bird. You see it immediately and you know exactly what they're going for.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So played Cyber Shadow, great. You know what's not great? The Medium. The
Mm.
Medium is made by a Bloober team out in Poland, and this is the developers that did Layers of Fear 1 and 2. They did Observer, and they did the Blair Witch game, the recent Blair Witch game. The Medium is being portrayed as, dude, no one's going to make a Silent Hill game ever again. We got Akira Yamaoka to score our adventure horror game about wandering around talking to ghosts. Everybody get excited. And then I played it, and the short way, I'll give you the long version, but the short version is almost every single Silent Hill game was worse than the one before it after a while. Like three was not as good as 2, 4 was not as good as 3. Shattered Memories was all right, but
I was gonna
then
say
Homecoming was that
Shattered
Homecoming was
Memories, yeah.
terrible,
Yeah.
right? And then Downpour was fucking terrible. And then that got, oh god, what was it? It was a Way Forward game. It was like a PSP dungeon crawler. God, I don't even
Oh
remember the
yeah.
fucking name of it. Like, oh my god, right? And this continues that trend of like the studio got further out into more Eastern Europe and is feels just as emblematic of the downfall of that series as if it
Book of
were a real
Memories.
Silent Hill game. Yeah, Book of Memories, that's what it was called. It is a horror game that has no exploration, no ability to fight enemies, one enemy that is terrible and often just forces you into invisible enemy stealth sequences, a character that
Wait,
never,
the
ever,
medium just
ever,
has no exploration?
no exploration. So it
Wow.
it
Okay.
it tells you that there's exploration, like they put you in like a hotel lobby, right? And then they
Mhm.
go, "Oh, how do I get up to the second floor?" And the answer is go to the
Okay.
elevator. And then you go to the elevator, and then the elevator puts you out onto the second floor, but that floor only has one door. And then that
Okay.
floor leads you to a mirror that will transport you to the other world, which only has a corridor, which
Oh
only
god.
has one door. And like the most of the experience, like by far most of the experience is me walking around in a like linear circle, if that makes any sense, listening to what are essentially audio logs of ghosts that don't have anything interesting to say. Somebody in
Hmm.
my chat, a guy named Sir Goose, put out this perfect phrase that I didn't like. I wish I had thought of it myself, but thank you, Sir Goose. Where the puzzles are not puzzles, because the only thing you can do to the puzzles is solve them, so they're not puzzles. The most involved puzzle I got in the entire game, from the part that I played it, was you walk up to a little conference table, and you need to figure out the name of somebody who sat in one of the chairs, because you need a ghost's name to like send them to the afterlife, right? And you look at a sheet, and it has the seating order. You go, okay, and then you go to a phone call record, and it's a guy complaining that he has to sit across from so and so. And I go, okay, I figure I have to go back to the paper, look at it, and then intuit what it would be, right? No, because when you go back to the paper, the character speaks aloud what you should do for the puzzle. And then when you go examine each chair, the character goes, no, not this one. No, not this one. Oh, this must be the one that is across from the person I listened to. And then you go to the other side, and she goes, this must be it. Number 4. I should go back to the seating arrangement. And then you go back to the seating arrangement, and she reads, goes, number 4, that's Jimmy whoever. Now I know. And that's the solution to the puzzle. The solution to the puzzle is go in a series of steps to like examine each thing in a row. Like that's not gameplay. I could have just walked into the room, and the character could have done it in a cutscene.
Yeah, that sounds like a Last of Us Part 2 safe mini puzzle, but like for like the best puzzle in the entire game. Seems like.
Yeah. On top of that, the game runs astonishingly poorly. Like really, really crazy poorly. It is the only PC game I have ever played in my life that when you start it up, it asks you if you want to limit it to 30 frames a second. That is the first settings option it asks of you. It says, do you want to put it to a frame rate? I did, and then I went into the options later and turned that 30 FPS limit on.
Oh boy.
Because the game can't handle. I'm hitting it with a 3080, and it just can't do 60. And I was playing it, I'm like, what? Because the game doesn't look particularly good. And like even like horribly optimized, I can't understand why it's so bad. And I have like an armchair theory. You constantly switch between like a nightmare world and like the real world. And they do the one cool aesthetic thing it does is it does a split screen of like cutscenes where the cutscene is playing in the top and bottom in the nightmare and real world. And so you'll see where characters should be, or where a ghost is holding an object but it's just floating in the real world. And the game will do that. You know when you like change a camera angle in certain games, like the game will go ka-chunk as it's loading in all the new assets just because it wasn't loaded into the camera view. It doesn't do that when you switch between the two worlds, and it doesn't do that when those cutscenes load in, which makes me think that both versions of all areas are loaded in at all times.
Are always loaded in.
Okay. Yeah.
And one of the cool visual tricks that made me think this was possible was you have a flashlight in the real world, but not in the fake world. In the nightmare world. And if you stand in front of a mirror where you can see both, you can see the real world version of you on the other side of the mirror is still casting shadows and reflections through the mirror. Like it's not a fake mirror; it's a real mirror. It's like a duplicated area.
Okay.
And it is choking. But that stuff would all be fine if the character shut their fucking mouth. The character talks more than Nathan Drake does in terms of environmental traversal, but it's a horror game. It's a horror game in which you're supposed to be scared of ghosts. And ghosts only attack you in ghost attack sequences, which half the time are you running towards the camera like a Crash Bandicoot
sequences. Yeah.
Oh yeah, and it's towards the camera. Like figure out which way to turn because you're running towards the camera.
Like run. Yeah. Okay.
But like the character is talking to the degree that I feel like they are afraid the player will get bored because they're just walking through kind of boring environments.
So
Um,
what? Yeah, my question, whenever like I kind of hear about like a game like this that's so specific in its what it's trying to do, but it fails at that, is like, is there anything that it does successfully? Like, if the
yeah,
narrative isn't that compelling, what is it?
there's one thing it does successfully. It does have an Akira Yamaoka soundtrack,
Okay,
which means that when music does play, it's good.
okay.
It's good music.
Also, the
But
main
like
character looks cool,
main character looks cool. Yeah, sure.
but yeah.
Do you know what? This'll make you laugh, Wooly. And Gene, I hope you can appreciate this, but you don't have the testing background, right? So the lip syncing in the game is terrible. Like the facial animation in the game is awful. It's really bad. But you know what? It's a limited, it's an indie studio out in Eastern Europe. Maybe it's limited resources. So most of the people you're talking to in the game are ghosts. And that's fine, right? You're a medium, you're going to talk to ghosts. So the first ghost that you talk to is your dad. The game starts with your dad's funeral, and you help your dad pass on. And your dad zooms in, and he's like a normal looking business dude, and he's got like a porcelain white mask on his face, and that's his visual ghost motif, right? And nothing about it animates. He just moves his head to talk, right? And I'm sitting there watching it, and I go, I bet that they didn't want to do more facial animation. So I bet every ghost in the game is going to wear a featureless porcelain mask. And sure enough, every ghost in the game wears a featureless, non-face animating porcelain mask.
Brilliant.
And it's just like,
Yep. On a design level.
Last but not least, the enemy that chases you. If it chases you in the nightmare world, you can see it. If it chases you in the real world, it's invisible, but it's got that predator invisibility thing, the shimmer.
Yep. But
the shimmer's not strong enough, so it's invisible. Like it's just invisible. You can't see it. And so at some point, the devs must have realized that like sequences were really, really difficult because you just can't see the enemy at all, and it insta kills you. So when you hold down like the spirit vision button, it points an arrow off your character's head towards where the monster is. like an arrow.
Oh no!
And
is
you're
it at
like,
least an immersive arrow? Is it like a spooky arrow? Did they?
It is.
Like, is it made of bones?
The,
maybe
It is the
arrow scan.
Oh.
It is. I believe it's supposed to be a VHS pause sign and a play sign.
Oh no!
Next to each other, but it's just an arrow that points to the enemy, and when you get closer, it turns more red.
Oh yeah, a crazy taxi arrow that's just going like this.
Yeah.
And
totally,
like
Sega.
I'm staring at this, and I'm like, dude, they put this in like last month. Like this is a last second solution to this problem.
Damn, okay.
So the funniest thing is that
fucking
it's
rough.
called the medium, and I have all these complaints, but it's not running so poorly that it's funny. It's not bugging out in goofy ways. The dialogue isn't so bad that I'm laughing. It's medium. It's mid.
Okay.
It's dull. It's painfully dull. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like I cannot recommend it to anyone. And I was talking to DK Diamantes the other day, and he started running into progression blockers. He started running into having to load like 2-3 saves back in order to get past invisible walls because he can't climb up on mandatory ledges. Like,
damn.
It feels like that the regular world and nightmare world split screen dynamic would be cool in like a Zelda puzzle like type of fashion, like a light world, dark world type of thing, which Zelda I think would never do because the idea is so flimsy. But if another game was able to run with it, then that might be kind of fun.
So they use it like they do in Silent Hill 0, where they're just locations. They're just
Yeah.
No.
So all like multiple worlds and like, you know, I mean different games have tried to tackle that, but like if you're doing that, you have to kind of have the experience to know how to properly load that in, how to properly handle, you know, the asset spawning and when and how and where, and like and putting mirrors as well into the equation. If you don't really know what you're doing or how to optimize it, that's a strange thing to design if you don't have the experience for it, you know.
I would rather play the Titanfall 2 time travel level 10 times than continue playing the medium once.
So I'm looking, this is Bloober Team, who made Layers of Fear, Blair Witch, Observer. Okay.
So I also
reminds me
found
of the Skyward Sword Desert temple scene where you're constantly switching back and forth in time too. Like that was like that's like the good part of Skyward Sword, right? So
there's like, you know, Zelda games have done it a lot. Like pretty much, I want to say like probably half of Zelda games have some sort of a moment of switching between realities at some point. There's a lot of that. Doesn't Legacy of Kain as well have that?
Legacy of Kain has the light world and the spectral world,
right? So yeah, that's an established thing that, you know, you people have figured out a long time ago. But
also, Woolie, you'll as a occasional artist, do you like it when people just steal art?
Oh no.
So not in this game, but in the Layers of Fear series, they totally stole some of those paintings and just put them in their game without permission. But Woolie, I'm going to send you a screenshot in the Discord call of the game's release trailer. And tell me if this looks like a certain Hellboy monster. So
I don't remember. It's the
that's the best screenshot I could get from the monster. It looks terrible. It is a low rent version of the Hellboy 2 Angel of Death from the end of that movie, which I posted for you in that Discord chat as well.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
It is just a shitty looking version of that monster.
That sucks, man, because like people are gonna immediately know, like if it's an homage, it's an homage, it's intended, but if it's just a rip and they've already that's not good, man. Come on.
It's just a rip. It's a bad rip. It's like a worse version.
Are the paintings
that game's
like
not worth.
Are the paintings like classical paintings from hundreds of years ago?
No.
Okay.
I believe they were like more modern ones.
They're like deviant art crap.
Yeah.
So don't waste your time with the medium.